So hello and welcome back to A Tale of Genetic Code. What we'll do in this video is start off where we left and look at how Obsidian can help us make all our nodes and manage them for a long period of time, right? So for doing that, I'll actually create a new vault, which will help you understand how things work in Obsidian, assuming that you're unfamiliar with it, obviously. And if you already know how Obsidian works and are already using Obsidian, then probably this video will not add much value to you, so you can choose to skip this one. So what I'll do is create a new vault. I'll just label it Obsidian folder because ultimately the vault you're creating is just a folder, and Obsidian is a way to visualize the files in your folder and files of specific types only as well. And what Obsidian allows us to do is to choose where we are creating this vault of ours, and I'll put it on my desktop for now. And I'll click create, which already gives me a mini version of what I already use, right? So as you can see, I have not made many changes to the default theme that Obsidian comes with because I find that this theme is useful for some purposes. One is it is very clean. It is not bloated with a lot of plugins that you would have to use to actually change the appearance of your vault. Second is that it is the basic theme of Obsidian that is the fastest. So in my previous vault in which I had like 4,000 nodes, things were becoming slower, slightly slower when I tried opening it, especially for the indexing and stuff. And even the load time is higher when you have a lot of plugins installed, right? So for example, in my current vault, I have 1370 files, which is okay, but you can imagine this number going into tens of thousands, and that is not a very unreasonable number as well, because I've been using this vault for say 3 4 months, and I intend to keep using this for a very long period of time. So this is super important uh, that you choose things wisely in the beginning itself, because later on, especially when you have put pictures of a certain type to match the theme of your Obsidian, and suddenly you have changed the theme, the pictures appear different, right? So all of these things can create a nuisance later on, which has happened with me basically. So it is just from experience. So if we look at this new vault, Obsidian has given us a welcome message, and it has said that this is my new vault, and I can make a note, and in fact I can start typing something right here. I can rename this note to whatever I want, and it gets changed. You can see the name has changed over here, the name has changed over here, and it has shown us a link saying create a link, and I can just press this to make a new file, right? And this file did not exist before. Only when I clicked the link on the previous the previous node, that this node was created. So you can see that this node is now existing here as well, and I'm brought to this node, and because I'm inside of this node, this is highlighted with purple. I can uh, delete this node to see what happens. Again, this node has become light gray in color, and it has disappeared from here. So that is the power of Obsidian. You can just create nodes by clicking on links, and making links is super easy as well. So for example, I want a file with this name. So what I can do is I can select this text and enclose it in double square brackets, and that becomes a link. But notice that this is also light gray in color because this node does not yet exist, but I can click it and make it, which will cause this node to exist basically, and now it is dark gray in color. So making a new node is as simple as that, but maybe you don't want that node to be linked with your current node and you want a standalone new node. So you can do that as well just by clicking Control and N, and now you can make a new node here. And you can see that this node is not connected to my previous node, but it does exist in my vault. And all these are some wonderful things that we can do. And notice that this section here is just displaying whatever files I'm adding to my vault. And what this is basically a folder view of all the things that you have. And in fact, it's just a folder. You can see that by opening it in the System Explorer. And this is the Obsidian folder, which I had named my vault as. And these are the files that I have in this folder. And in fact, I can open uh, individual files like this, and you can see that is actually a text file .md for markdown. And you can see that uh, the links that we were seeing in our note are actually just plain text which are surrounded by double square brackets, and that is the case here as well. And this one is actually an external link, which means that clicking this will take me to a web browser and some website. So let's try that, and that is what is happening. And I can close it because that is not something which we'll be looking at. So what this allows us to do is to understand how Obsidian actually functions, right? So you can just think of Obsidian as a cool new way of navigating your files, and the files are stored as .md. And that is what makes Obsidian future-proof, because even if Obsidian shuts down, which is not very likely to happen, but if that does happen, you'll have these notes inside your hard drive as .md files, which can be opened by as or a simple application like the Notepad, right? So that is something great about it. And because Obsidian Vault is just a folder, what I can do is I can copy a folder from any other part of my computer and paste it inside Obsidian. And if you see what just happened is that this folder got copied and it is not named correctly. Yeah. This folder is now added and is also displaying its contents in my vault's graph view. So these are the nodes which just got imported because I added this folder here, and I can also navigate to them by just clicking on those. So for now, let's keep them here. And note that uh, even though these nodes do not form a part of uh, my current of like they're not directly linked to the node that I'm currently reading. It is true that they exist in my vault, which is they are displayed here, but that is not something which I would want to see all the time, right? Because the vault is going to get bigger. I would want something cleaner. I would want only the neighbors of my current node to be visible. I can do that by pressing Control P, which opens a command palette, and I can look for a local graph, and here it is. It just shows the files that are linked to my currently active node. And I can make new ones here. I can say new one, new one, and that gets added, right? And so on. And I can just make this one by just clicking on it. Let's go back. And well, this is a really helpful superpower that Obsidian gives us, which is just to link nodes, because now I can see what all nodes are there that are linked to this. So imagine that uh, the node is not linked this way, right? Probably the node exists somewhere else. Uh, so new node here. This node is not linked to anything. This is a orphan node, but maybe I want to link it to whatever I want, and I can do that. And now you can see this link and this file. When I go back here, now I can see that new node here is connected to this as well. So if I just look at this, I might not be able to say that this node is linked, but from here I can. In fact, there are many other ways to visualize the nodes that are linked to each other, but local graph is my favorite, so that is what I'm showing you here. And now I can just close it. And there were some other things that I want to talk about in this video, and I have put them in this one. things that you'll use all the time. So first, let's go to navigation. And we have seen Control O, where we can type the name of the node that we're looking for and press enter, and we directly go to that node. And we can go back by clicking on this arrow, but you might want to do it from your keyboard, and that is also possible. You can go to hotkeys and navigate and say you want to navigate back by pressing Alt and back arrow. You can do that, and navigate forward by pressing Alt and forward arrow. You can do that as well. And now that is already uh, possible to do, right? So these are the two ways that you can quickly go to your notes. Then the other thing you can do is obviously search for it in your file explorer here and press on it, which will also take you to the note of your choice. Then coming to commands, we have already seen the use of Control P for finding where our local graph command is, and just pressing that gave us this local graph here. If you want to go back and see your full graph, you can just press this button over here, which will give you the full graph. But eventually, when the wall gets bigger, this becomes less and less useful, although it looks very, very cool. For example, this is my current vault with all its nodes, and I can zoom in and see the different nodes and how they are connected. But I find that I don't uh, do this very often, and probably the local graph is more useful for me. So let's go back. So there are several other commands, and when you are actually installing various plugins, you'll also find new commands related to those plugins also come into this command palette only. So that is your one place to find all the commands. And coming to plugins, there are three very useful plugins. In fact, just two. Emojis are just an embellishment to your notes. Uh, but I find myself using PDF++ a lot and Excalidraw a lot. Excalidraw is the tool I use to make my presentations for these videos. And in fact, all my presentations that I do, even at work, I do now through Excalibur only, and it works great. People like it, and they don't mind it. More importantly, and this is a great way of keeping all my things together, right from the time I'm first exposed to a bit of information to the time I digest it and now present it to a new audience. All of this workflow is within Obsidian, and that is something really great. So the way to install plugins is to go to this place called community plugins. You have to give it permission by turning it on and then browse to see the thousands of plugins. You can see that there are 2079 plugins. I believe there are more, but that's also a great number. So Excalibur is right here. Let's just install it. So installing it is as simple as just clicking on this button. It takes a few seconds, and now it is installed. After installing, you'll also have to enable it to start using it. And now you can see that this button has come here, which I can just press and start making a new uh, Excalibur drawing, right? But I wanted actually to install PDF++. And it is very easy to get lost. There are so many plugins, and some are really, really helpful, and all of them would require you to try them for a long time to actually understand what that plugin does. There are some plugins which have a steep learning curve, but once they're learned, they can add really great value to your workflow, something like data view. But those are the things which we'll not be going into in this video, because this is just a very basic introductory video for people who have never even heard about Obsidian, right? So let me just enable PDF++ as well. So Obsidian does come with a PDF reader, so you can natively open PDF files inside of Obsidian. But PDF++ takes it to another level. It allows you to annotate your PDFs right from Obsidian. So that is something great. And another interesting thing you can do is, for example, you have come across some picture here and you want to add it to your notes. So you can click the selection tool. You can select that image and then go back to your note and paste it. So now this image is here, but it is actually not image. It is actually just displaying a part of that book over here. So when I double click it, it takes me back to that book, right? And that is something great. What this allows me to do is it allows me to actually uh, keep a tag keep a track of where I'm getting my information from, because it so happens that you often lose context of your notes because you try to take short notes so that they are very high yield. And what this does is sometimes it reduces the context in which the notes are taken, and you stop understanding what that note means after a while. And just by clicking this, I can go back to the original source from where it came and read around it to understand what it means, right? So these are some things that you can do with Obsidian. And this is just PDF++. Excalibur, and actually PDF++ has several things that you can do. Like you had just noted that when I double clicked it, it opened on the side, but this is not the way I like it, because my screen is quite small. It's just like 13 inches, which would probably be the size of the devices that you are using as well. So I typically like my PDF opening as a new window, and all of these settings can be changed by just going over here, and you can see that there are a ton of settings for PDF++ that are available. And the way I have optimized it, I will be changing in this test folder also, test vault also, and I'll be uploading this vault as a zipped file as a link in the description of this video, so that in case you want to start a pack to start off your Obsidian journey, you can just download this and start off, right? But all of these settings are something which, if you explore for a while, you'll really get comfortable with. And like I said, emojis are something you can just use to embellish your notes, right? So you can just type emoji. There are a bunch of tools that allow you to do this. So there are emoji shortcodes as well. Let's see what this does. Oh, so you can just basically start typing something, and that gives you a list of emojis that you can. Okay, so let's just install this to see how it works. Install. So it's installing it over here, and once it is installed, I can enable it and start using it. So let's just say I'm going to put a smiley here. Yep, smiley cat. So that is the power of plugins. They can help you do a ton of things. There are plugins, for example, integration of ChatGPT into this. So this is search for ChatGPT. You can see that there are a ton of plugins that allow you to do that. And it is often the case that whatever is your use case, you will be able to just search for it and find a plugin for it, because a lot of people have already gone through the problems you're likely to face when you are going to start using Obsidian. Another thing that you might want to keep in mind when you start using a tool like this is that it is not uh, advanced text editor like Word or Google Docs. This is a plain .md file that is basically working overtime to display things in a manner that is useful to you. But in the end, this is just a markdown file. For example, if I uh, open it in the System Explorer and open it as a markdown file, you can see that this is just a link. And because of this exclamation mark here, this link is being rendered within the note itself. So for example, if I come up here and delete this exclamation mark, what it does, it just displays this, and I can click it to go back to the selection that I had made. But if I want that image to be displayed here, I can put an exclamation mark here, and that would do the trick. And this is true with YouTube videos as well. In fact, I'm not sure if that would work, but Let's try to render google.com. Google.com. No, https colon slash slash. Would that work? No. Hmm. But say you can just very interesting. It's not as a link. Oh, I will have to remove this. So now that has become an external link and I can just click this to go to google.com, right? But suppose I want to go to YouTube, uh, youtube.com and say I want to search for a tale of genetic code, or I've put in quotation marks so that it actually takes me to my channel and say that I want to copy this video, close this and paste this. So there's a long link. So maybe I would want to just display the video itself over here, and that is possible. I can play it over here as well. So there are a bunch of things that Obsidian allows you to do. You would have to explore some of these things on your own to actually become very familiar with them so that using them becomes a second nature, especially how to use the various markdown syntax to, for example, make something bold or make something italicized and highlight stuff. So all of this is possible. So for example, for highlighting, I used double is equal to around the text, and the way to do to insert it around a text is to actually select it and then apply the markdown that you want. So I would only have to press the is equal to button twice to do this. Otherwise, I would have to do it twice over here and then go back and do it twice over here to actually take effect. So instead of doing that, I can just select the text I want to highlight and press is equal to twice. That adds it to both sides of the selected text. So the other things are the way we are used to Control I for italicize, and that is actually just adding two asterisks around the selected text. And when you do something like bold, uh, it adds two of these asterisks around the selected text. So this is plain markdown, and that makes Obsidian very fast and really versatile. And basically, it is up to your imagination as to how you want to use it. And before we end this, I have told you that there are several powerful plugins that would really enhance the things that Obsidian can already do. But what I find that what I find is that these are mostly distractions if your goal is just to read. So I would encourage you not to go into this if you're just starting out with Obsidian. Keep it simple. Use the basic setup. Bring all your reference material inside of Obsidian and just use Obsidian as a reading tool and nothing else. And before I end this video, let us just understand some of the pitfalls of using something like this for taking notes. So when you're writing on a page, you know the boundaries of the page, right? So you would not exceed that boundary. You might want to limit your notes, limit the amount of notes that you're taking, and that would make your notes crisp. But when you have an entire never-ending page on which you can take your notes, what you tend to do is to take long form notes, which is to include everything about a particular topic on it. And that actually ends up not being a very great idea because even if you're able to find your note which contains the information that you might need, it will be very difficult to actually find the information you need on that note because there is so much information on that note. So generally, what I like to do is, for example, if I'm taking a note on Gaucher disease, so Gaucher disease would be the name of my note, and so let's just do it here. Gaucher, why is it caps? Gaucher disease. and I'll type something about Gaucher disease here, and then I'll do a C also, and then I'll have like clinical presentation of Gaucher disease. I'll have types of Gaucher disease, and I want enzyme replacement therapy for Gaucher disease, substrate reduction therapy for Gaucher disease. So all of these are separate topics in their own right, and what I can now do is do Control O and say I'm interested in only the ERT aspect of Gaucher disease. I can search for it and immediately find what I'm looking for, as opposed to imagine everything about Gaucher disease on this page itself, and I would have to scroll and uh, get exposed to so much information that before I reach what I want, I'm already exhausted, right? So that is something you would want to avoid. Make really, really atomic notes so that you can find exactly what you're looking for in a fraction of a second, right? So that is about long form versus short form and atomicity of notes. And uh, second thing, we have already looked at different ways in which we can find our notes, but the best thing I feel is the Control O method because, like I said, vaults can get really big really quick, and searching for your notes in this Explorer is going to take some time. So Control O is always great, and annotate your notes. That is something that is also super important. Best practices practices. So what I've done here is I have given this note called philosophy of note taking an alias of best practices. What it means is that I can now search for this particular note with this term as well. So I can just do Control O and start typing best practices, and that will bring me back to this note. So, for example, best practices, and that has brought me back here. And I can make this anything I want, ABCD, right? And that gives us an idea of how important it is to annotate our notes well. So what you're writing here is your note, but what you're putting here in properties is your annotation. And doing this is super, super important because that allows you to find your note that quickly, and it allows you to filter various kinds of notes. So you can imagine adding tags. So important is a tag. And now you can imagine searching for the tag called important, and all of the files with this tag would get listed here, right? So that is the power of annotating your notes really well. And with that, I would like to end this video. Thank you for staying with me. Bye bye.